beauties here on the Tiki Talk. I'm Bullhorn Betty. We've been covering the case of Nancy Guthrie. This is an 84-year-old grandmother that went missing from her home in the foothills of Tucson, just on the outside of Tucson. From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work, we will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you, God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims. And what we have here is authorities still haven't named a suspect, even though we know that many people are kind of looking at her son-in-law. And there's a lot of reasons why they are and why the car was impounded on normal, customary reasons. However, you know, they are kind of looking at this from a abduction ransom theory right now. And we know that the family put out a statement, all three of the children put out a statement to the public already about the ransom. Then, of course, we had a press conference yesterday where we learned a little more about that, and they included a timeline. The timeline now is quite interesting here. As you can see up here is when she left to go over to her daughter's house. Then at 9:48, I'm going to focus right here. We just got off the YT and we went through a lot of this stuff on the YT. If you guys have not come over and signed up for the YT, please consider doing it because we break these things down. I think we were on a live for about 2 hours today going through all of this stuff, and I just don't have the ability to do it for you guys on this platform the way it's set up. So right here is very interesting, and a lot of people aren't focusing on this, but I find it awfully interesting. It took her 2 full minutes to get from one side of the garage to the other side of the garage. Even with her limited mobility, I would presume that she can walk a little faster than going, you know, a few feet in, you know, I think that the garage is what, 14 feet or 14 to 20 feet, and it took 2 minutes to get there. I don't know how practical that is, but I digress. And then, of course, we learned from the press conference that somebody stayed around the house for over 40 minutes. That's not really consistent with an abduction and a ransom. So this is this block of information right here is a little concerning from my perspective. We were told also that the family got a call around 11. They went to the house, and then they didn't call law enforcement until 12:15. So now we have the true breakdown of this, because that was suspicious to a lot of us to wait an hour and 15 minutes with the condition of what we saw on the outside of that house from News Nation. There's no way it would have taken anybody an hour and 15 minutes to do that, but it was misinformation or misunderstood information. It wasn't misinformation. It was misunderstood information. So the family did, in fact, get a call around 11 a.m., but they couldn't get out to the house, which again, on a Sunday, it takes you 50 minutes to get to a house that you're only 10 minutes away from. It's a little rough here. So, but when they did arrive, it wasn't an hour or an hour and 15 minutes that it took them to call law enforcement. They called immediately. They arrive at the house at 11:56, and by 12:03, they're calling law enforcement, 911, to report something terribly, terribly wrong that went on in this house. So we do have this beautiful grandmother that is missing, and nobody knows where she is. We are passing a hard deadline. The brother did a secondary call out to the person in the ransom. They just want to know their mother is alive. It sounds like they're willing to pay the ransom money. That's what it sounds like to me. If you had to ask me what they're doing here, they're trying to make sure their mother is alive. And if their mother is alive, whatever ransom amount they want, they're going to pay. That's just truly what I believe is going on behind the scenes right now. I know that the brother-in-law / son-in-law is being looked at, and while law enforcement has been adamant to say that they have not named a suspect, I don't believe he's been ruled out, because they have made, thank you, love, they have made sure, absolutely without a doubt, that everybody knows no one is being ruled out in this matter. Nobody. So they may go further down on the list, but I think one of the reasons why they would be impounding the car is because their protocol requires it. I don't know if that's really a defining thing that makes me, put fault on someone, because at the end of the day, they were the last ones to see him. At the end of the day, somebody took her home in a vehicle. At the end of the day, that vehicle is going to have to be processed just in the normal, customary way of doing law enforcement. So, having the car impounded and checked thoroughly really isn't as mind-blowing as people are making it out to be. I mean, in reality, whether they're guilty or not guilty of anything, that car has to be processed. I mean, no matter how you look at this case, that car has to be processed. It was the last vehicle she was in before she disappeared. So, it's standard procedure. So I'm kind of listening to all of this, the brother would hit a lot of the check marks, and he does hit a lot of the check marks, but it doesn't mean that nobody else does either, right? It doesn't mean that he's the only one that fits this profile, or he's the only one that has check marks in the right spot that would make him look good for this crime. There are other people that have check marks in this area too, such as the caregivers of that lady in her home, such as the landscape person, the person that maybe she had a disagreement with, or she fired, or maybe they just got a new hire that thinks she's rich, and there's a lot of other people that would fit the same profile that the son-in-law is fitting right now. Now, does that mean he's not it? No, he could very well be responsible for this, but it doesn't mean he is. That's the point I'm trying to make. So I'm really trying to make sure that we're being fair on this case and that we're analyzing it properly. But I also don't want to be behind the breaking news either, like being so careful that we're scared to say a peep if we know something's coming up. I will never be that scared to speak. I mean, if we're wrong about something, we're wrong, just plain and simple. But we're not going to stop letting the information flow because we're scared we might be wrong about something. If we're wrong about it, we'll get it corrected. But right now, it just seems like they are really putting a lot of weight in this ransom. But I think it's just to eliminate it, to be honest with you, to give it its all and find out that it's probably got nothing to do with nothing. It's just, a hoax in and of itself. Does it have information? Yeah, but think about it. Wouldn't somebody that might be good for a crime be trying to find a way to take some heat off them? And when people started talking about the lack of a ransom letter, maybe somebody in desperation said, let me send it, knowing that they only have one time to strike and one only. They may have just sent it to 3 different people all at one time and was done with it, right? You don't know how it was accomplished. They're saying that it can't be traced. I don't believe that. I believe everything digitally can be traced. It just depends on how much technology and time goes into tracing it, right? Some of these things are like tangled webs. But I don't think it's impossible. I really don't. And especially with AI. Put it in AI. AI can uncover a lot of stuff when it comes to tangled webs. It's pretty interesting what all it can do. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we're not here to solve this case with a microphone. I think the only job that we can do on our platforms is just keeping her name out there, keeping her face out there. You know, we're speculating. Don't think that I'm saying, don't speculate and don't go down rabbit holes. I'm not that type of content creator. We speculate on my channel on the factual stuff, right? We have the factual stuff as our foundation, and we build the case and speculate different theories based on that foundation of truth. We don't build our theories on a foundation of assumptions. We build our theories on a foundation of truth, and the theories are based on the assumptions. So make sure that you, when you're looking at this, you're not assuming too much. Understand for yourself what a fact is and what assumed information is, so you can differentiate and keep yourself straight. Because what ends up happening is somebody will say something salacious on their channel. They won't say, this is my opinion. They tout it as a fact. Next thing you know, you got 15 people going out in hundreds of channels spreading that information. And now this opinion just went from an opinion to a fact real quick, and it doesn't fit the overall case. So we got to be very careful, because we don't have the type, I mean, we have a lot of sources and resources on social media, but we don't have people we can just call. You know, our sources are very, very, you know, much, we're anonymous to one another. Like even when we want to speak to like Jennifer Coffindaffer, she's not speaking on the record to any of us. She might answer the phone. She might respond to us in her professional opinion. But, you know, and she might even put an opinion on the record. But you got to remember that we do have, you know, people we can lean on. But we're still not law enforcement. We still can't make arrests. And at the end of the day, any lead that comes in needs to go to law enforcement immediately. Do I know who did this? Of course not. Is the brother-in-law, does he look good for it? He could. He very well could. And I'm not going to say otherwise. He could very much look good for it. Could somebody else? The answer is absolutely. Somebody else could look good for it as well. So let's just be careful with how we're approaching this, just in my opinion. You guys do you, I do me, right? But I definitely think that we need to be very mindful that there's not enough information here for us, in all honesty, to lay any blame on anybody. I've been doing this for a really long time, folks, and I'm telling you, when I see a case that's a slam dunk, I go all in. I'm not going all in on this. Why? Because it could be a variety of things. This is definitely a whodunit. This is definitely one of those cases that defy logic, and that's why we're all investing our time and our time and our brain cell into this. But there's a lot that can be said here. I truly do believe it's closer to home. The son-in-law makes sense for me. Okay. But I haven't seen anything that I've seen so far that says, yep, he did it. So other than that, it's just a theory. So be mindful of that. You know, we can't accuse somebody based on somebody else's theory. Does it look good? He could. But do we have the information? Is it slam dunk? No. And Sandy brings up a valid point. Could be the freaking Uber driver for all we know. You know? Great point, Sandy. Great point. You know, we don't know. And that's, again, another person that came in contact with her that night, that went to her house. So, and the will, that's another thing, Natalie. But how much money does she really have? I mean, I can't imagine her being that wealthy. I mean, enough to you know, I mean, she lives in a nice house, but she's lived in that house since the 70s. You know what I'm saying? The 70s. That's been her lifetime home. JP says $3.5 million. Okay, well, that's definitely enough to get killed over. In all fairness. House is about 650,000, 750,000. I looked up some of the comps on it. But $2.5 million, if you're struggling for money, that's, yeah. I know it feels like it's the family, but it doesn't feel like it's Cameron or Savannah. They're the ones that aren't there. The only person that would have resentment are the people that are there. The only people that would need the money are the people that are there. Savannah doesn't need the money. She's got $40 to $45 million attributed to her net worth. You know? Uber driver's worth looking into. I guarantee they're looking into the Uber driver. Life insurance. Yeah, that's kind of where I've been at with this whole thing. You know, it's definitely something that somebody is going to benefit from her being deceased or gone. Period. So it's always been my opinion, it's somebody very close to her. It's either resentful, which was lower than it's being somebody that's going to benefit from her death. And the only people that would benefit from her death is her children and her grandchildren. You know? I mean, financially, not benefit like, you know, financially benefit. Let me rephrase that. Because, you know, for many of us, we would give up the millions of dollars for the extra day. You know what I'm saying? But for some slime bags, they'd give up the extra day for that dollar. So, anyways. All right, guys, I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about what we found out. I noticed that you guys probably aren't on the YT, so I wanted to come as I was getting off the YT and coming over here and giving you guys kind of more of a condensed version of what we discussed on the YT. If you guys would like to go over there and go down the rabbit holes with us, by all means, please do. Around 2 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to be on the YT going through my mail. I've got mail from people that sent me their perspectives. We do that every now and then because I think it's important. I think it's important for my audience to know that other people have the same perspective they do. And so we go through a lot of different perspectives on there. Right now, we're in a situation where, you know, any theory is we're analyzing because we don't know what happened. We've got no real strong opinion on anything at this point. There's not enough information for us to be strong on an opinion in this case just yet. But if just a little side note, if it is a family member, by us coming out and accusing that family member publicly, it limits the ability of law enforcement to keep that communication open. So please keep that in mind, because I know that when we're in cases like this, especially if it's somebody closer to the family, it's super, super important for law enforcement to keep that level of communication open. Okay, they need that. They need communication. They need the person wanting to continue to cooperate. Once that shield goes up of an attorney, then the case really slows down, and it slows down a lot. Okay, so especially if we as a public, the public opinion believes that somebody in the family is responsible, we can talk about it, right? We can theorize, but coming out right out and accusing or stating what our sources may have told us might not be the result we need at this game. You know, of course, having this, that, and the other a little later might be more appropriate, but when we don't know whether a woman's dead or alive, we might want to keep those conversations going with law enforcement, especially if we believe somebody's a suspect. So I just want to throw that out there to my counterparts out there on social media, that, you know, I do believe that she might be gone, but we don't know for a fact. And until we do, we should be trying to bring her home safely. And when we start accusing people, if they are alive, if there is somebody alive or whatever, that might end very quickly. So just be mindful of certain things, especially when we have an active missing person. Once it goes past a time in which that person can no longer survive, then we can start, you know, having and exploring those other conversations. But while we have the possibility of bringing a human being home alive, we might just want to be very, very careful and mindful of how we're conducting ourselves on these platforms, even to mainstream media, because I've already got a bone with mainstream media anyways. They're either lying to us or trying to show us up, you know, and it's like when they try to show us up, they damage cases. And it is what it is. I guess it's just going to be this dance we're going to have to play from now until eternity. Who knows? Or until the next big wave of technology comes in. Anyways, guys, rock it out with your coffee beans out. Thanks for allowing me to bend your ear. If you guys have any questions or would like to express your perspective to me, you can do that by reaching out to me at bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon.